Hello everyone and welcome to Grow As We Go.
Hello everyone, I'm Fatima.
What's up everyone, I'm Angie.
Hello, I'm Diana.
And I'm Ashley, and today is Leprechaun Day or St. Patty's Day.
Ooh.
So in honor, we're all wearing green.
And Diana's birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Diana.
Thank you.
So happy to be spending your birthday here in the podcast.
Oh, this is there's not another place that I'd rather be than here.
Aww.
That's so sweet.
Okay, so before this episode, Fatih and I were actually having a conversation, and we kind of wanted to talk about like our insecurities and kind of like I guess finding like where they're rooted from and stuff, because I was telling Fatih that growing up I didn't really have like insecurities until other people would mention them, if that makes sense, and not necessarily like mention them towards me, but let's say she like didn't like her eyebrows, she's like, oh my god, I hate my eyebrows, like my eyebrows are so bad, like da da da, and so then I would like later think to myself like, are my eyebrows okay, like do they look funny, like, you know, is there something wrong with that? So interesting how sometimes we feel like insecure about certain things physically in our body because other people bring them up, but unintentionally, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, maybe that's just for me, how I am. Like, if somebody points out their own insecurities, then I start to think like, oh crap, like is there something wrong with me? But it's not like maliciously, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
like it's normal for people to point out the insecurities because like that makes you feel better, that makes you feel better. But I think it's on me for me to take it in that way. Is that how you guys feel or not?
I mean, now that you bring that up, because like I'm trying to think about a time like when I started to feel insecure. I think for me, insecurities really started to like hit in middle school when everybody was just like growing at different rates, because I feel like you're young, everybody's like looking different. Some people are growing boobs, some people aren't, like everything. Middle school is such an awkward time, so I feel like that's when a lot of comparing goes on. So I feel like I feel like I could totally see that being a thing, and I didn't even notice until you brought it up, and I for sure probably did that too.
I think for me it was when I started going through puberty, because I went through puberty when I was 10 years old, so I was growing like boobs and everything. Like, all my friends weren't, because we were 10. Everybody was like 4-5 feet, and I was already 5 feet, even though that's still short, but as a fourth grader, that's
At
pretty
that
tall.
time,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I started, because I was growing so much, I started getting stretch marks on my legs. So I was always hiding that from everybody, and I was super insecure. Like, I felt so awkward. I'm like, and that's when I started growing my insecurities.
Yeah, definitely. I think also we can all agree that bullying, I mean, I was bullied when I was in elementary school, middle school, because of my looks, and that has definitely and was a main factor in me feeling self-conscious about myself, because I don't know why when I was younger people would call me fish, like I'd look like a fish.
What?
And like I don't understand till this day, but dude, yes, I know. And also my whole being tall, like me being surrounded by people that aren't alike and me in the same height really made me really feel insecure about my own height. And it's not until my college year where I gained the confidence to feel tall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100%. I feel like I would always get like not bullied, but like I remember for family parties, like, all right, the tall one's in the back, tall, and I'm like, oh fuck, like, you know,
Like,
until like by the time, like, you know, like I would have been like the youngest one, and like, no, the tall one's all the way in the back, and I'm like, okay, I guess, you know.
No, dude,
But I think in terms of like my height, I feel like I began to learn it. I mean, not earn it, but like be proud of it. Like in high school, like in middle school, like I was like always like the tall girl, but I think I kind of felt like I was like, oh, like I think it's cool that I'm tall, you know. And then like in high school, I think that's when I wanted like my dream height. Like I still say it to the day, like I want to be 5'9", and like I'm 5'7", but like I've always wanted to be 5'9". It's so crazy that I didn't think about, like I kind of saw the beauty in being tall.
I hated being tall growing up in elementary school, because do you guys remember when we would take like the class pictures, and the tall people were always in the back?
I always stood out.
I was always like one of the only girls in the back, and like all my friends were sitting in the front. Like I remember like their shoes would come out, and I'd wear cute shoes. I want my shoes to come out, but I couldn't because I was in the freaking back. It was because I was tall.
I only got to experience that for like 2 years, because obviously I'm 5'1", but since I flunked, I was, and when you're little, I think height is a big difference. So since I flunked, I was always like super, people always reached my shoulders. Like, I can't relate to that now, but back then I was like, the front of the line. Actually, for us, it was front of the line, taller people in front. For some reason, it was always me and these like 3 other boys. It was never other girls. It was just me and 3 other boys. So I guess I could say I experienced that.
For 2 years.
Did you guys with your tall phase? Did you guys have that phase of being hunched?
Yes.
Like on purpose? Like I would be purposely hunched so I can like fit in, because I felt like I was an odd one out.
Or I remember I would like bend my knees and like
in pictures, like if my friends, I'd be like, okay, like let me like you know, like act small or whatever. Down. But it's like, no, like that's never gonna happen. Like, you know, so I think we should like own it. But and I think I really like how you said like middle school was like the part where you feel like you started realizing like your insecurities. I think from, I guess, same like 5th grade. I like when I mentioned before, like when people were telling me like, or like when some girl was telling me like, oh, you don't have boobs, you're so flat chested. And I feel like that's when I was like, oh, like, should I have some boobs right now? And I feel like that's when it started. I think for me, like, something that my sister pointed out to me, and it's so sad, is like, she'd be like, ew, like, your arms are so hairy. And I'm like, what about, like, they're not even that hairy. So then, like, ever since then, that's when I started to, like, shave them. And then I think I was, like, in high school, and I was like, damn, like, I really shave my arms every single day. Like, I don't mind, but it's, like, thought back to, like, the moment. Like, I clearly remember her telling me in my room, like, you need to shave your arms, like, da-da-da. And I'm like, ugh. You know,
I remember in middle school, my mom didn't let me shave my legs until like 8th grade.
Me
so
too.
In PE, I would be like with hairy legs, and I remember like trying to hide my legs. You know how you stick crisscross applesauce in the squares? I'd be like, literally, I'd get my shirt and like put over my legs and just constantly stay with my arms over my legs, like body hovering over, because I was so insecure about my leg hair.
My mom bought me this machine that would pluck your hair. So she would like pluck my hairs, and she was like, I'm gonna get like this leaf she would use to numb my legs so they wouldn't hurt. But I was like, no, mom, I have to shave. She's like, you're gonna regret it later when you're older, it's gonna come out thick, blah blah. And I was like, I don't care. And I lied to her saying that I got bullied at school for having hairy legs, but I didn't. So that's when she let me shave.
Reflecting back in middle school years, I actually, for a whole year, I think, or a whole grade, I used to put on green contacts every morning because I just,
middle school?
I don't know. I was through this phase of like my eye color was not enough. Like I wanted to have green eyes so bad, and I'm pretty sure it's because of I was looking at girls on YouTube, and it was like the shuffling phase, my favorite phase actually. But, my favorite shufflers had on like contacts, and like they were going through that phase, and so I really wanted to be like that too. And but now that fucked up my eyesight because of that. But
no way.
Don't recommend
cheap contacts.
Wait, like
I mean, well, yeah, imagine not wearing, like, not prescribed. I can only see how much damage that causes.
And I just remember being in my class like, hold on guys, what's happening? And like I just felt like yeah,
oh
like,
shit, my contact moving.
Like, first of all, who bought me them? And
I know.
Yeah, did your parents know?
I don't remember.
I remember when I first, like, that transition from, like, 5th grade to 6th grade, I remember, like, my sister and my mom were like, okay, first thing, we have to go get your eyebrows done. We have to go do your mustache. So, like, they took me to go thread my eyebrows and go thread my mustache because they were like, nobody's going to bully you in middle school because of your eyebrows. And I'm like, what?
Oh,
so
like they put that in you, like, that's a thing. Like,
yeah, so, like, I guess they were, like, looking out for me, I guess, like, okay, like, we're gonna go get your eyebrows done, and then we're gonna go do your mustache. And over here, like, in pain, sitting in the chair, like, getting threaded, like, that shit hurts so bad. And, like, now I'm used to it, but, like, I remember, like, the first time I was like, oh my god. And then, like, ever since then, that's when I started, like, doing my eyebrows, however many months.
We touched base on stretch marks, and for me, getting my stretch marks growing up really messed with my self-esteem. Because I would also get stretch marks behind my knees because I had a growth spurt between like 5th and 6th grade where I grew like 3 inches. Like in middle school, I went from being 5 feet to like 5'4" by like 7th grade. So I grew like 4 inches, and I got stretch marks behind my knees. And then I also, middle school, you gain weight and your body's just reacting everywhere. And I gained weight on my hips, and I was just gaining weight. So I have stretch marks all over my sides, like behind my arms. Like I have stretch marks everywhere, and it took me a long time to accept them, honestly.
Why do you think that? Like, what is it? Just because like you didn't like how they looked, or like you didn't see anybody around you that had them?
I didn't,
or like it wasn't pointed
really
out.
See anybody or anybody around me has stretch marks, so I have to deal with it. And I think it's like that internalized like fat phobia that everybody, you know, that we all have, like we all a negative mark. I was always taught that it was like a negative marker, like, oh, stretch marks, and I got it from the movies. It was always talked about like, oh my god, I have stretch marks, and like, you know, like those coming of age films, like I just remember,
or like those commercials, cover your stretch marks with this lotion and the cocoa butter lotion.
Because I think if I wouldn't have known that it was a bad thing, I would just be like, oh, like I got this when I grew a lot, and just been like cool with it.
Yeah, I think also nobody really talks about stretch marks because I feel like especially for girls, it's a big insecurity. I started accepting my stretch marks more when people would talk about like, oh yeah, I have a whole bunch of stretch marks. Even YouTubers would talk about it, and that's when I was like, oh, okay, they have stretch marks, so I think it's fine. So it's like a normal thing. When I started seeing it was a normal thing. That's when I started accepting them.
That's interesting. It's not until my sister pointed it out to me, because I remember recognizing that I had those, and I had no idea what they were, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I had them in back of my knee too. But one day I asked my sister, like, I think she saw me hiding them. She's like, what are you doing? And I told her, and she was like, those are stretch marks. And I was like, but what is it? And like she told me about it, but the way that she explained it, it wasn't like in a good light. It wasn't like, oh, you have stretch marks. She was just like, oh, you just grew, and like you just get them. But it was like nonchalant, and that's why I think I didn't really become insecure about it as others might have.
I feel like also within like the media too, like you don't see like people like talk about their or before, like you wouldn't see people talking about their stretch marks and stuff, and you're like, oh shit, like I must be weird, or like you don't see them talking about certain things, and so like you're like, I'm weird and it's abnormal, so I should be insecure about it, you know?
We have a habit as humans of fearing the unknown, so like I'm not surprised why we were like, we didn't know what it was, and we were like, what the heck, like what is this? And especially if we don't see it anywhere.
I remember when I first discovered my stretch marks, it was kind of funny actually. I hid them from my mom because I didn't want her to think I was cutting myself on my legs, because they were, you know, when they initially get them, they're red, they look like cuts on me, so I would hide them. I was like, oh my god, I want my mom to think I'm cutting myself, until I realized my mom noticed them. She's like, oh, you have stretch marks.
Were you guys ever insecure about your foreheads like I was? Okay, let's just talk about it. Our forehead. My forehead.
Hell
like,
yeah,
I used
bro.
to get made fun of. My brother.
Dude.
He used to always tell me.
Yes, my family, like, how many fingers? Or like in middle school, I remember like guys used to always like, okay, like see how many fingers are there? And I'm like, what? Like, okay, it's 4. Like, look it, there's no space.
Dude, I wouldn't even want to pull my hair back in a ponytail for sports because of my freaking forehead. And then I remember in high school, I got like made fun of on Twitter. People like, there's like these girls saying that they would write a novel on my forehead and all this stuff. Like, yeah.
Oh my god.
And then I think I found an old Facebook post from middle school where like this kid threw a fucking eraser on the bus at my forehead because he was like, this is a big target, and just chucked it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Dude, my brother used to do that to me all the time. Well, not throwing it at me, but he used to like grab his hands and like slap my forehead and be like, he would be like, hey forehead, or hey five head. He'd like pick at me for having the.
And then I feel like I kind of like owned it. Like, I feel like now, like, yeah, my forehead's big, and what, you know?
Oh, yeah,
like,
now I
feel
own
like,
it. I like it.
Yeah, now,
I feel like
I
like big
like, I mean,
foreheads.
I still talk shit about it. Like, my hairline is, like, weird, but, like, I'm not, like, as, like, fuck, like, I have such a small forehead. Like, I mean, I have such a big forehead.
Yeah,
Dude,
no,
if your hairline was perfect, it would look really weird.
And I think to thank you for the contribution from Tyra Banks and Rihanna, because they made me feel so empowered with my big forehead. I'd be like, you're telling me I have a big forehead? So does Rihanna, and you like Rihanna, you think she's pretty?
But the other day, dude, I saw some girl, I don't know where I saw, I think probably on Twitter. She got like forehead surgery.
I know, that was
so that her hair can get for her hairline.
They pulled her hairline forward.
Yeah, and I'm like, whoa.
No way.
Yeah,
and her forehead was
That's
like
really
fine before.
Yeah, it wasn't even like
it wasn't big,
you know. But I guess like that's to each their own, you know.
Yeah.
Like, if she felt like insecure about it, and that's how like she wanted to, I guess, address it, that's on her. But I think it's just sad that like it has to come to that. But like, I mean, all power to her, if that makes sense. I've always said this, and then when one of my friends pointed it out, I was like, yeah, like in reality, you're not really ugly. It's just that you're broke. Like, you know, like you don't have them like like, you know, it's like, oh, like I'm so ugly. Like, nah, like you're not broke. Ugly. It's just like you just broke.
There's this trend going on TikTok called social media is fake that I really like, and it's like they'll show a really nice picture of themselves and then zoom in on like their mustache hair, their pores, their like belly roll. Like they'll zoom into like everything that doesn't really get pictured on social media, which I really like, because we have this assumption that everybody's like perfect,
like, oh,
you know,
glowy
through
skin.
what we see. Like they have beautiful skin, and we don't really get to see like, yeah, we all have mustaches, we all grow arm hair, we all get unibrows when we don't pluck it, you know what I mean? Like all those little things that we're insecure about, like
Natural.
everybody has them.
I
It's
remember
really nice to see that.
my sister, she was like, oh, I just love watching the Kardashians. Like this was like years ago. She's like, I just love watching the Kardashians because when they sit, like you can see like their rolls, and she's like, and it's good because like you can see, like you don't like you want to expect the Kardashians to have like roll, like fat, like what are they called, belly roll, like fat rolls, I guess.
Can we talk about how, of course, our faces are not the same? Like,
symmetrical.
the half of our face are different from the other half. Yeah, they're not symmetrical, and they're not supposed to be. But when I was growing up, that used to be my biggest insecurity, because I was just so I was zooming into that, and really, like, I even told one of my friends when I was younger, I was like, please don't look at my left side. It's like I don't like it at all. And like I was just so insecure about that. But like, do you guys? I was talking to my sister about this earlier, and I was asking her, like, can you tell that my face is not the same?
No, not at least
but
I
it's
can't.
so it's like, it's insane how, to me, that's all I see.
Like I've always thought that I had a lazy eye, and then it just, all these insecurities come as like you stare yourself in the mirror for like hours. I remember like on the car, you know how there's like a little the side car, the mirrors on the side, just driving, and I'm just like looking at myself. I'm like, is my mouth crooked? Like I would see how like one of them goes up, one of them goes down. I'm like, I didn't realize that until like that mirror right there. So it's like the more you stare at it, the more like you try to look for things that you can pick apart.
Yeah, mine's my double chin. Like I noticed, because I have a small jaw, and in my dad's side of the family, they have a small jaw. So like the older they get, like their double chin is like connected to their neck. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have that. And then like I notice it because when I'm resting, my face is resting, you could see like that little double chin, and I'm just like, oh my
but
god.
like, dude, you pointing that out, like I would have never like thought, like, like I never considered you to have like a double chin, like,
Dude, I agree with you, Diana. I definitely see, like, on myself, like, I definitely have picked at the asymmetricness, if that even a word, of my face. Like, if you go through my photos, I'm always on my left side of my face.
Left?
All my photos, damn, people are about to go look. All my photos, I'm taking on my left side of my face, and I definitely do feel I think it's probably is in my own head, or I don't know. I feel like I have more control over my, like, this side, like it's more lifted, so I like the side of my face. But one of the things, I recently got my nose pierced, and the reason why I did it on my right side, which one of my friends actually, she's like, do it on the side that you like the least, so you learn to like love it, And I was like, okay. I was like, that's really interesting to think about, So I did it on my right side, and I have noticed myself admiring my ring more. So it's helping me build a better relationship with the right side of my face. So like now I'll feel more comfortable taking pictures on the right side when I used to like never. And it was even to the point where I didn't want people to notice that I was insecure about my left side, that I would you know how you could flip your photos? I would invert them so people didn't notice. I kept taking pictures on my left side. That's so bad. Wow, I can't believe I'm admitting that, but I'm admitting it.
It's like a raw thing. It's like something that's true. Like, we're only human. Like, what the fuck? Like, I always think about that too when I'm looking back on my insecurities, or like when someone's on the side that I don't like, which is my left, and I'm just like, wait, are they seeing what I see? Like, damn. Or like, I always tell people to go on my right, and I'm like, no, let's go this way. Just go this way. They don't just be like, why? And I just be like, cause I hear you better this side. But I am still trying to have a better relationship with my left side, because I know that's like that's up to, like, we're only human, we're not perfect, you know what I mean?
Now I'm wondering, I'm wondering like what side is like my good side, because I never really like understood like that gist. It's like, oh, this is my good side. I'm like, fuck, like how do y'all figure that out?
I just think it's in the head too.
It maybe sometimes it's naturally the side that you gravitate towards.
Yeah, and then you stick to that thing, like, oh, this is my good side.
But like if you take a picture of your left and your right, well, I've done that, and I do see a difference.
Me too.
Really?
So but then I'm just like,
maybe
is it in my head?
Is it really
so in my head that like all I see is that? Like,
maybe because I don't take pictures that often. I'm like,
Yeah, I don't really take pictures too
I'm taking
often.
pictures right now.
Like, what is the audience think? Can you guys please let us know about the left and the right side of your face? Like, do you think
Dude, because I feel like everybody says that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, what's your good side? What's your good side? Like, that's just like a thing. Like, everybody
In
has
group
like, a
pictures, I
good
dart,
side.
bro. I dart to the left side.
I've noticed
Like,
that.
nah,
Like,
nah.
she's like, there first.
Nah, this
Hold
is my
on.
side. Switch. I'm like, okay.
I will tell people to switch with me. It's so bad.
Dude, another thing that I saw on Twitter about the guy that like fixed a jaw, that he could have like a jaw like look a certain way, or I don't know, like he was like chewing on, like doing jaw exercises for him to have like a chiseled like jaw. But yeah, it's just crazy that people still like regardless of if you're a boy or girl or whatever, like people also have insecurities. I think it's important for us to root back to like who caused those, or like not who, but like where are they rooting from? Like, why do you actually feel insecure?
Well, speaking for myself, I think before I want to go about like changing something, because like something that I've been insecure about is like my lips, and I've been contemplating getting lip fillers, but before I jump to do that, I really want to think about like, okay, why do I hate my lips so much, and like where did this come from? Like, what makes me feel that this is gonna fulfill me? Like, am I trying to fulfill in another void? Like, I think it's really important to ask yourself those questions, because it's just important to get to the root.
Yeah, I for sure agree. I feel like this was like a very small conversation, but we can for sure go into like further about our insecurities, and like, but maybe that can be for other episodes. If you guys are interested, let us know. But I feel like this is a great moment for us to go into our Discover Her segment. So what did we learn today? And like maybe like what do we want to talk about for the future episode that we want to do?
I learned that everybody has their insecurities, and we all have similar insecurities. For future episodes, I would love to talk about the layers of that, and talk about how we can better have a relationship with our own bodies, our own features and insecurities, and help one another in that sense, because this is why we have this platform.
I agree. It feels nice to know that I'm not the only one that picks at my faces, or have talked about our stretch marks, or feel insecure about our stretch marks. And I definitely want to go into detail as to why certain ideals are praised over others, and how that has like been historically been a thing for centuries, and which I think is very important to know, especially for people of color. Our insecurities, I feel, are often heightened because we're not generally appreciated or praised. Yeah. So I think that's something I would want to dive into in the future, because I think as a Latina, and I'm sure other people of color can relate, that we also struggle with, white Western ideals.
Yeah, you guys literally said what I wanted to say. They said it on the dot. But something I would want to talk more about is how people overcame those insecurities, because even though I have overcome certain insecurities, my major ones I'm still working with that, and I want to know like if someone has the same insecurity as me, and I want to know how they overcame that and what they did to accept themselves.
I would agree with like everything as well. It's like I'm glad that we have this platform to like talk about like what we feel insecure, and to kind of normalize having these insecurities, I guess. But one thing that I'm really interested to talk about for further episodes is just kind of how do we perpetuate these insecurities among us, and what effect does that have on our mental health, our physical health, and like how much is too much to the point where we can push ourselves that is like impossible. Like will we ever be happy with the way that we look? Like, is that, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you can alter so many things about yourself, but are you going to be happy? Like, is that actually have like a huge effect on you? So I think that would be a perfect conversation for a future episode. So with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning in. For more information, head over to our Instagram at Grow As We Go Podcast. Check out our YouTube channel as well, Grow As We Go Podcast. And remember to strive for growth, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.